So today we're going to put the Tungshan TZ-D2 motor on this bike here. This is a 27 inch frame. So the first step is to remove this front derailleur assembly. I've removed the cable that's connected to it by loosening this nut and pulling the cable out. I've already loosened this nut a bit. So we're going to continue to remove this. In order to remove this completely, we're going to have to take and remove a link from the chain so that we can take it off. Completely. In order to do that, I have a pair of the chain tool here. Just have to find the master link now as we slide this through here. There we go. So here's the master link. We place the tool in it, give it a little squeeze, pull it together, work the chain apart. Careful. Remove the front piece, and then we can replace the chain. We're not going to need that in the future. We're going to simply go with the gears that we have on back and the gear on the motor. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to put the chain back together. Give it a little pull. Where's my tool? We want to make sure we pull that tight using the chain tool. Flip that over. Oh, we don't need this. So next step is we're going to remove the bottom bracket. To do that, we're going to start with an 8mm hex end wrench. We're going to loosen the nut here. In order to remove the crank arm, we have a special tool. You can get this tool from any bike store. I went to Park Tool. I'm not getting any endorsement from Park Tool, but they have a full line of bicycle tools and videos on how to use each of the tools. So I highly recommend it. Got a lot of information there. In order to do this, we're going to thread this first nut into the crank arm of the bike. On older bikes, it might be a little stripped, it might be a little tight. This one's stripped a little bit. It's really key to get it in there perpendicular and not strip anything out. The threads on these are aluminum. Oh, this one's really tough. I'm gonna get a wrench to help me, because those threads are really big. Whoops. Actually, it wasn't on there that tight, but I had to pull it on. Let's just do this. Hold on. I'm going to get a wrench. Oops. So it's important to get this nut all the way in there. There we go. It should ideally turn by hand at least a few turns. But we really want to make sure we seat this all the way in. You can easily strip out those threads. You don't have to tighten it too hard. Now I should just be able to turn this, and with some force, I should be able to get this to push it off and remove my crank arm. Then we simply remove the tool and do the other side. remove the 8mm hex end. These are generally not too tight, not too much of a problem here. Sometimes the crank arms can be stubborn. You can tap on the end of your tool with a mallet if you need to. Once again, I'm going to thread this off. I'm going to take this one all the way off just to make it easier to get it up in there. Feel it a little bit better. Yes, these are tough. These are a bit stripped out. It's like somebody's been in here. There we go. Should go a number of turns by hand. Like to make sure that it's tight. That's pretty tight. Now we can rotate this tool in till it makes contact. On really old bikes, it may be difficult to remove this. This one's it's recently been removed, so it's pretty easy. But you can tap on this with a hammer if you need to. This one looks like it's just gonna come right off. So next we're gonna remove our bottom bracket. That's this piece here. We have a special tool. Again, I've got mine at Park Tool. You can get them at any bike store. One thing to remember here, on the right side, we're reverse threaded. So it's lefty tighty, righty loose. We want to make sure we're going the right direction. So if we go right, what normally would get tightened is now getting loosened. Okay, so we've loosened that a little bit. When we loosen the one on the left side, this one follows your standard threading, lefty-loosey. Now, if these get stuck, one trick I've used, I'll show you real quickly here, is I've used an impact wrench. Two things: if you're going to use an impact wrench, make sure you're fully engaged and square. The other thing is make sure you're going in the correct direction. Lefty-loosey on the left side. It's righty-loosey on the right side. All right, so this should come out now. Generally remove the left side first. Then remove the right side. Oops, I'm tightening. Normally I just go around, but it's easier to demonstrate. All right. So there's the bottom bracket removed. Now, as far as the motor is concerned, the motor comes with our crank arm nut, a retaining nut, and then these two, or where did I put my 3mm? I think that's what it is. Oh no, this is this one. So this is the 4mm. Remove these two. Remove this piece. And then remove this nut here. So in the end, we remove this plate. Watch these two little circular spacers. We've got the two nuts, the two spacers, the plate. This is another retaining bolt, the lock ring, and the crank arm bolt. So now we're ready to slide our motor into the bottom bracket up here. I'll go around to the other side. The motor slips in easily. You can see seats right up against it. Perfect. Very easy to do. Threads stick out this side. So two things we're going to now want to do. One, we're going to want to decide where do we want our wires. If you have removed your kickstand from this area, which I highly recommend, you can run your wires up through the bottom end here and then fix the motor around that with this piece. You can run them up beside it on this side if you need to. These wires can run up into this groove. You just need to make a decision. Generally, just running them up this way is the easiest way to do. You can use a zip tie to tie it right at the bottom, but you can decide where you want to go. So once you've made that decision, if you're going to stick the wires up through, you stick the wires through. On this one, I'm just going to go around it. I'm going to preserve this area just so I have a good, easy way to get into this piece here. So now I'm going to put my plate back on. Oops, that's on the right one. Oh, before I do that, I have to put my spacers in. Oh, okay. So we'll put the piece on. We're going to put a spacer in. Oh. And then we're going to stick the bolt right through the spacer. And I'll let you see that from this side. Well, I can do the other one too. So I stick the spacer in behind. You can see. Then you want to see it from this side. Stick the spacer in. Then I stick the bolt through the spacer and just tighten it down just ever so slightly. So once I've got that on both sides, I can take my retaining nut and line it up. Kind of tough looking that way. Oops. Why is that so tight? Okay. Thread that down on. You can use a little bit of the thread lock if you'd like. I like to rock the motor up as far this way as I can. You're going to adjust that later when you push this piece in. Hand tighten it for now. And then we'll take and we'll tighten these down some. And once I've gotten this piece on, we'll go ahead and tighten everything down more tightly. This is a tricky one. This always takes me a little bit of time to get that bolt in there with the little bit of space we have and get it engaged. Might need a flashlight for this one. I had to pick the hottest day of the year to do it. All right. Oh, I can see why my piece is not where I want it. Might have to take that out and flip it around. No, I should be able to do it now. I got it started, and now I'm just threading it down through. Now we're starting to run into some resistance. So I have a special 5mm cut down. You can do this with a ball end more easily. That day I just happened to need it, so I cut one down. We tighten it down using this. Oops. Until it's completely tight. This is one of the trickier parts of this whole thing. It's just getting that in there and getting that tight. Oh, come on, fall in there. See if I can get any tighter by hand. We're getting there. I'm going to take this and cut it down to, all right, we're almost there, we're getting there. Tough to get a big stroke on it. A little bit of patience, we get it cinched down. There we go. Get that nice and tight. All right. Once I get that tight, then I'm going to tighten down the rest of this, starting with my locking ring. This is the tool that comes with it. I recommend you use it to tighten it, and then using a mallet. Once you get it tight, and tie it. Make sure you get it as tight as you can. Really practically can. That's pretty good and tight there. Maybe I'd go a little bit more, but not too worried about it. We tighten these up. And we have a mounted motor. Just need to put back on the crank arms. I have 2 crank arms that I've already put the pedals, swapped the pedals over onto. So it's just a matter of getting it up, getting our 8mm wrench, our 8mm hex, and first let's get that on there. So the way this works, this nut actually presses the pedal down, and it's a kind of a press fit. So we want to make sure we get this nice and tight. I don't want to strip anything out, but we want to get it nice and tight. Let's see, it'll keep going for a while. There we go. One pedal on. So this one will come down here. Gonna do the same thing, get the nut in there. You'll notice I don't have the chain on right now. I'll be able to place the chain up over this whole assembly. All right, let's just do it this way. Get that nice and tight in there. Now we'll do this. Again, we want to use this to push that down. I haven't stripped any of these out. I'm sure you, oops, not let's say that, but I'm sure you could. It's a pretty tough bolt. Okay, so the pedals are on, the motor's in. Just need to add the wiring, add the battery, put on the display. We're ready to go. Oh, and one thing I didn't show you is putting the chain back over, but pretty simple. Just feed it over the thing here, and then you pull this down. So you can hook it on. Get my fingers out of the way. All right, perfect.